Jessi Valkachek Rosa, my best friend.
You're using my legal name?
Listen, anytime I talk about you to my family, as if all I have to say is Jessi and they would know who I'm talking about,
Right.
but I always have to say Jessi V.
Right.
Or Uncle Jessi.
Well, yeah, your sister's name is Jessi.
Yes.
Still.
But I always, but like if I'm talking about you, like if I mention something to Sarah Guillen, like, oh, I hung out with Jessi, you know, it always is, yeah, I saw Jessi V the other day or Jessi V. And it's like, what do you, but you just become ingrained in my mind as
I know.
Jessi V.
I know. But I'm glad you threw out the Valkachek out there because
I have to. The Valkachek, yo ass.
Valkachek, yo ass. That's my sister's Instagram handle, which
oh my God.
she's now off of it. But yeah, that is
I
her
remember
Instagram
the precise moment when we came up with that. It was a night out and Christina Markin was there.
Uh-huh.
And we were literally making all these like versions of your last name into something funny. Yeah. And one of them was like, don't make me Valkachek, yo ass.
Yeah.
And Katie was like, oh, that is like solid gold.
Yeah. And the other one was the Valculator.
Oh, let me get my Valculator out. That math ain't mathin'.
Beep, boop, bop, boop, bop. Oh, nope. Error.
Well,
anyways,
you are I don't know what your title is in life. I mean, you're a mom, you're a wife, you're a nurse, your most important title, you are my best friend since 8th grade.
That's right.
Now that is the coveted
7. Oh, that's right. It was official in the 8th grade.
Thank you.
That's
so
right. Friends since 7th grade.
That's right.
Officially.
You and I had other best friends,
that's
which
right.
we do not speak of.
Right.
That was a time in our life is very dark. Like I don't like to remember that we were never best friends at that time. 7th grade, we were friendly. Mm-hmm. We knew each other, but we had other best friends.
That's right.
Then the summer happened, and then 8th grade happened, and we both were like, do you want to ditch our other best friend and become best friends?
This is official now.
Yeah, this is official.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, it was for a reason.
Oh,
I mean, we were made to be together.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
This is correct.
Yeah.
So you and I are going to be talking about Sherri Papini.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, I have so much to say. And what's so funny is I wanted to talk about this off mic and you would not let me.
No, I can't because it's too, there's too much.
There's a lot to talk about. This documentary. Okay, what is the documentary called? The latest one that we watched. Sherri Papini. I always forget.
In her own words?
It's not The Perfect Wife. We are going to talk a little about that.
I'll tell you right now. I'm going to tell you right now.
Because there's 2 Sherri Papini docs that I've watched. One was like a year or 2 ago, and it's like Sherri Papini, The Perfect Wife.
That was The Perfect Wife. That was on Hulu.
Yeah.
Caught in the Lie. Oh, no. Just Sherri Papini.
Yeah, Caught in the Lie.
But Caught in the Lie, but I think that's the name of the first episode of this. But it's an HBO Max version.
Yes.
It's her in her own words. She gives the interview. She wants to tell her side of the story.
Because she didn't participate in the first documentary. We hear her voice.
Right.
Which I wish I could go back and get that time back. Right. Because when I heard her voice, it was her singing a lullaby. A sweet, loving lullaby to her husband. Like, it was terrible. Like, the opening, one of the opening scenes was like her singing in this like high-pitched, like wounded coyote voice.
Right.
Like, I just was like, get this out of here. Okay, so we're going to talk about Sherri Papini and there is a lot to say, but should we just do a quick we
need an overview
of
the original case what happened.
Yeah. So 2016, Redding, California. Sherri Papini is this attractive blonde woman, blue eyes. She's married. She has 2 kids, and she goes out for a jog. And I think she was texting or talking to her husband shortly before she went on the jog.
She was inviting him home for lunch. Do you remember that?
Oh, I forgot about that.
She wanted him to come home to have lunch sex.
Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah. Okay. So I have thoughts about that as well.
Yeah.
Because I think everything she does is calculated. Spoiler alert. So she goes out for a jog. Long story short, she never comes home. Keith alerts, he calls 911 or police. He's like, my wife didn't come home.
She didn't pick up the kids from the daycare, which was a big indicator that the kids were never picked up.
Something's wrong. So then Keith goes out and kind of like retraces what he thinks is his wife's steps. Like when she went on the jog. He finds
her device on the Find My Friends app.
Oh, that's what it is. He finds her cell phone on the Find My Friends app.
At the end of a street.
Yes. And it's just on the ground, but it also has her earbuds coiled up next to it. Perfectly, pretty much, with her hair in it. And it's like, okay, if you see your partner's hair, and their device just strewn about, with like the earbuds, like you think like, okay, something's wrong.
Right.
But to me, like I'm just going to go in.
Go.
To me, it was giving Hollywood movie.
Oh,
it was giving, this is staged, this is fake, like, or at least this is a little sus.
Right.
Like,
Let me just pluck a couple hairs out. Let me wrap it around where my hair might get caught.
Yes, perfectly.
Even on the rubbery buds. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So, and then basically the story unfolds from there, and the suspicion pretty quickly falls on Keith Papini. Because of course, as we know, statistically, the husband did it.
That's right.
Right? You know, it's kind of that kind
of thing. And they have to rule him out of the...
That's right. And so they at some point they rule him out, but there still is scrutiny on him, and there still are people in the public going, I don't know, he seems a little creepy, seems like he's hiding something. Oh, he has a flat affect, or he's not showing enough emotion over his wife, all these things. But we would find out, so Sherri Papini's gone for 22 days. The entire community comes together. They release balloons. They do a search. Can't find her. 22 days later, a 911 call comes in, and it's a woman screaming, I've been abducted, help me, yada, yada.
Or it's actually a guy who says, I have, he says, sorry, I shouldn't be laughing. He's like, I have a Sherri Panini.
Yeah.
And she's like, Papini in the background.
She's correcting his name.
Right away, he's like, she was thrown out of her boyfriend's car, and she immediately squashes it. Like, no.
Which is a huge red flag to me.
She's like, I need an ambulance. Because I honed in on that. I'm like, why would he say that part? But anyways, so that comes in later.
But I want to zero in on that a little bit, because when I watched the first documentary, the producers never brought that up as a point of contention. Like, that is a very important point. So if investigators, and maybe they did, but they didn't mention it, but like, that was the key to the whole case to me. So when Sherri Papini is, when the guy calls into 911, and he immediately, his first thing that he tells 911 operators when she's supposedly found, or he finds this woman on the side of the road, she says her boyfriend threw her out of the car or something like that.
And she cuts him off immediately.
She corrects him and wants to tell her narrative, like wants to. That to me was a huge clue. It's okay, excuse me, I thought investigators should have like zeroed in on that and like, well, why is he saying that, and why did you correct him?
Right.
Like, that's weird.
I know. And that's even like, you gave me a lot of homework.
Oh,
I had to watch the Hulu, what was the first one called?
The Perfect Wife.
The Perfect Wife. I had to watch that one, and then the HBO Max one. And when you hear that 911 call and that's immediately what I picked up. I was like, wait, because I'm still thinking like, I don't know. I don't remember the whole story. I remember something about it. I don't remember her accusing two Hispanic. I don't remember any of the details of it. So I was just like, oh wait, her boyfriend threw her out, because I that's the first thing I heard. I was really listening to what that caller was saying. And they do bring it up in the HBO part, just very briefly, but honestly, there's so many little details. It's so disorienting. That's the one thing I can say about her and all of the details of this case is it's disorienting, because you're trying to fact check her with the story that she had, with the details that she goes back on. That's why I was like, I told you before we started, I'm like, I'm going to need help, like guiding myself. Your head spin. Yes.
But Jessi, I think that's by design.
I know.
So I said before we turn the mics on, I'm like, this story, Sherri's story, is so disorienting. And I think that's because she's a fucking liar.
Yeah.
And she's trying to compound. She's telling lie on top of lie on top of lie to cover this lie. Oh, they catch her on that, so she's got to put a little spin on it over here. And and this piece of information. And you thought it was this, but no, it's really this. It's because it's all a lie.
Right.
Like, it's because, and that, I think the truth is far more straightforward. And the puzzle pieces will, for the most part, fall into place with corroboration. Like, even one of the FBI agents in this documentary was like, none of this is corroborated.
On her side of things.
On her side.
Right. But with the ex and everything else, that all kind of,
corroborate some of that. And the puzzle pieces fall into place. But her story is just so confusing and none of it makes sense. And that's because it's probably a lie.
Right.
That is what is
going
on.
But I think with a moral compass and, who doesn't lie, even though she's accusing all of us, we're all liars and everybody lies. And,
everybody lies except for her.
Yeah. Everybody. Even the documentary crew.
That's right.
And she's at the very end.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God. Okay. I have so much to say
but
about.
But the thing is, like, I think we are trying to project interpret through our moral compass and like what we would do. And that's why it doesn't make sense. And you have these hard stops. And that's why I was just like, it was frustrating.
Yes.
It was honestly because I'm like, God, shoot, like, what about this? And it was like making my head hurt, like to go through all the actual,
and that's because you make a really good point, Jessi, is that you're going to trip yourself up if you try to see it through the lens of you're a mostly typical, moral, like ethical person.
Right. Trying to do the right thing.
But she is not, in our opinion.
Right.
So, but
I'm thinking like maybe she is. Is she saying something true? So that is, I think, as the viewer, just trying to understand all this. But even the FBI, they're just, all of them, that woman FBI agent I love because she was just like, very like flat out.
She's very cynical and very skeptical, and I related to her so much. And I've said that so many times about myself. I am very, very cynical and very skeptical. And so to me, this Sherri Papini story really reminded me a lot of how I felt about Jussie Smollett. He's the actor that was in that show called Empire.
That's right.
And when his story was unfolding and we didn't know it was a hoax, I thought it was bullshit almost from the jump. I didn't think it, at first it was jarring and I was like, oh my God, they have to catch these guys. This is disgusting. This should not be going on. This racism and, and all these things, the assault. But when he started giving out the details, it sounded so much like a Hollywood movie. The lynching, the Make America Great Again.
Right.
There was one other thing that he said where I was like, this sounds like it's literally
too like written from
it's so scripted.
Right.
But I didn't want to be the asshole to go public or to talk to any of my friends and say, I think this story is bullshit. So I kept my mouth shut because it's like nobody wants to be the asshole. And it's the same with Sherri Papini. This woman appears to have been through a horrific ordeal. Any woman, any person's worst nightmare. But if it's starting to look and smell like bullshit, you don't want to be the first one to say it.
Right.
Because what if you're wrong? And then you are the asshole that's like, she's battered and bruised and you're like, oh, this is a hoax. But her story really was starting to remind me a lot of Jussie Smollett. And I think I think that she and Jussie Smollett have some characteristics in common.
Oh, yeah.
Attention seeking.
Right. Narcissism. That I looked up I was like Googling like somebody who like plays the victim over and over again or victimizes themselves in a situation where it's like not true. Like there's no facts to like back up because she often throughout her life.
She did. Yes.
Was a victim of somebody or something that happened. And Munchausen came up. Because it's not just like with your health. It can also be, I guess, with just, being a victim of something that had happened.
So it's not by proxy because that would
be
she was pushing under.
But that's the other part. That's the other part that stood out to me as much as that call.
Yes.
Was the fact that I think there was Munchausen by proxy, allegedly.
According to Keith.
Yes.
In the first documentary.
And the second, the first one, that's right. That he's, about the her having her children huff alcohol. Yeah.
And she says no, it was essential oils because their skin was sensitive.
But she still wrapped it around her neck. The daughter, So that's when he said that part, I'm like, oh my God, this bitch has Munchausen.
Yeah,
Even though I think you're supposed to call it something else now. I forget. It's like there's a different. You're not supposed to say Munchausen anymore. Okay. But anyways, but people know what we're talking about. Yes. But I think she had both Munchausen by proxy, which is it's all for attention.
Right.
And we all know what, with
Eminem's mom.
A gypsy. Or gypsy,
Gypsy's mom. Rose. Gypsy Rose's mom.
Yeah, so that was a perfect of like she was, putting it onto her child.
Yes.
That was full on by
proxy. Which garnered her a lot of attention.
Yeah, but I feel like you have to see that Sherri Papini has some kind of diagnosis that is where she gets in this world where she starts believing
that is rooted in attention seeking. Right. And whatever personality disorder or whatever, I can't diagnose, but like whatever is going on psychologically, you've got to admit that there's something or a myriad of things going on with her that is different from the typical average everyday human being psychologically.
Right.
And I just found it all so interesting and so complex. But this woman to this day is doubling down, in my opinion, on her multitude of lies.
Right.
She will never, never, never admit that she was the problem. It's everybody else is a liar. Everybody else is an abuser. Everybody else is making me look like the bad guy. And I also think that the way that she would get angry with producers when she could see that things were not going quite her way, or when they tripped her up at the end, we'll talk about that on the two Hispanic women who abducted her.
Yep.
And the fact that James Reyes' mom was not Hispanic.
She was Irish.
I can't like it, but she got angry and then she starts dropping F-bombs. Yeah. Whereas here's my thing with Sherri Papini. When she gets tripped up in her lies and feels like she's about to get caught, she does one of two things. She either starts crying, fake tears, and the tears don't even really roll down her face. No, they don't roll
out, yeah.
But she crumbles up, and so that you're immediately like, oh gosh, I feel sorry for her. Like I can't push any further because she's crumbling before my eyes. She's very fragile, yeah. Right? She either does that as a mechanism, like, oh fuck, I've been caught, or she gets angry and she switches from this meager, I'm just so sweet and like I've been through so much, to like, well, fucking, I don't know, da 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 da.
Yeah.
And it's the
I've
wildest.
Seen you guys all lie too. You've all lied.
Yeah. Have you not lied?
Yeah.
Have you not lied? And it's like, bitch, yeah, I told my daughter that Santa Claus was real.
Right.
That's a lie. Yeah. But I never told my husband that somebody abducted me and tortured me and branded me and it wasn't true.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry, but there are different levels of lies.
Right.
Oh, my driver's license says I weigh 135 pounds. You think that shit's true? No, it's not. But there, just like any manipulator, there's a sprinkling of truth in there. Right. But it's not all true.
That's funny because I was trying to think of like, what white lies do I mean, we all, yeah, that is a perfect example. Mine will forever say 135 no matter what.
And I love that I'm 5'7" and you're 5'0", and mine also says 135. Okay, bitch. That ain't true.
I know.
But listen, is like there are different levels, but there
right.
are so many things about her that fascinate me. But getting back to, so 22 days later, she supposedly is found and everybody's
she's
so
dumped
happy.
in a parking lot. She's returned.
She's returned
right.
on Thanksgiving Day.
They're done with her, yeah.
Thanksgiving Day, nonetheless.
I know.
Very
How
convenient. She's battered. She's bruised. She's got branding on her back. She's frail. She hasn't eaten. Like it's alarming. And
I mean,
she
was wrecked when she got. Yeah, when
it appears as if she went through anybody's worst nightmare.
Oh yeah,
like barely alive. And then the whole community is elated. Keith's elated. Although I think that deep down, Keith knew fairly early on that she had the ability to manipulate and lie. I think that was something in their history, but he probably didn't want, that was such a big lie that he didn't really outwardly believe it.
And I think he was truly happy for her to be found. I mean, I think that, even his sister said like.
He launched his own investigation.
Oh, yeah.
To find her.
He insisted on the FBI, getting involved and, really and doing like multiple interviews and going national with it. And, yeah, to get as much coverage.
Right. And so she's found, the community's elated. Then it becomes about, okay, law enforcement has to gently interview Sherri Papini to get all the details. We want to catch these people. And, you see her on camera and she's like, oh, I'm so frail, and she's like, I can't talk about it. And everything triggers her supposedly. And how exhausting for Keith to have to go through that because she's like literally weaponizing her fake trauma, in my opinion.
And wait, really quick, what do you think about her having him present always?
Because I think that she's such a, she was in deep with this lie. And it is almost like an emotional support blanket to have somebody who appears, at least, Keith was outwardly appearing to be her ride or die. And she knew she needed somebody to lean on and almost like legitimize her.
Yeah, like because that's what I'm thinking. Like, why do you, what is the psychology behind having him be present for every interview? But you're right. I think it was like some kind of security blanket, or she felt comfortable being truly her inauthentic self, to give us the I don't know, maybe
and
she
it's
would
almost like, see, he believes me.
Yeah.
Like it is doubling down on her lie. Like if I go in and I tell our producer, Mara, Mara, this just happened or whatever, but it didn't happen. But I tell you it happened and you believe me and I've got you by my side. You're like, oh my gosh, Jami, like, yes, this happened to my best friend. Like you're legitimizing my lie. And I'm also, and so I've got you in my corner. I've got my talons in on you and I've got you into my corner. Now you're on my side. It just only strengthens my story and it helps me
lie better.
That's
honestly, that's what I was thinking. Like maybe somehow it gives her more of like the courage or the material to continue with this deep lie, because she insisted he be there for everything until they found out about the DNA and everything. That's when she was like, wait, they gave them a minute. And
she's like, hold on, I need to talk to my
get my shit together.
Shit. God dang it. So the 22 days passes. She's found. Then they start investigating it, and that's when she comes up with that it was 2 Hispanic women who abducted her. And the FBI gets called in, and they do a sketch of 2 Hispanic women.
She actually requested for sketch artists.
Yes,
she requested it, which I thought was like, God, why?
She's so deep in it. Like, she's willing to just go to any lengths to be like, I am telling the truth, or whatever it is. And so there's this sketch released of these 2 Hispanic women, and that freaking pisses me off because, well, also we need to dive in a little bit. This tells us a lot of it.
Yeah.
About who Sherri is as a person. There were 2 instances that showed me that she is racist.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, 3 instances, okay? Number 1, there was a certain writing. It
was like a blog post or some kind of manifesto. I don't know what, but it was like published online with her maiden name.
Yes.
It was Sherri Goff, whatever.
And it was like rooted in racism. I didn't go and rewatch the doc, but did you remember what she wrote?
Yes, it was about... I don't know why it was written, but it's about how she was either being bullied by Hispanic or Latino females, and how she gave it to them, and how she kind of fought back. But she denies that was her, even though it was like that somebody. Her. But again, it's like, something. How unfortunate that somebody put something out with your name on it, having to be racist specifically towards the Hispanic.
Everybody else is the bad guy.
Right.
She's always the victim.
Exactly.
Always. I'm so glad that you made that point. So there was that. Then there was something that she said to somebody where she said, "Oh yeah." And those Mexican women were playing that annoying Mexican music, mariachi music. She calls it Mexican music, mariachi music. And so she's just belittling these people. And then thirdly, as if we needed any more evidence that she's racist, she blames her abduction on 2 Hispanic women specifically. And we will talk about at the very end of the latest documentary from Sherri Papini's perspective, how they kind of tripped her up.
And she tries to explain why
she did. Yeah, so basically Sherri Papini, her explanation in the latest documentary, because the producers are now going back, and by the way, Sherri has had several years to come up with everything she's going to say and does say in the latest documentary. So at least in my opinion, she wasn't ready to confront it all in the first documentary because she didn't have her whole story built yet. But then she had enough time. She
served her time.
She served her time. Yes, literally served her time. I think she did 10 months out of 18 months.
Yeah, it was 10 out of 18.
10 out of 18. So her explanation in the latest documentary as to why she specifically said it was Hispanic women, which again, she's trying to make herself like this. She's 10 steps ahead of everybody. She's just so smart. She's like, oh, that was my way of hoping that if I make it if I make the sketch look like my ex-boyfriend, my abductor's Hispanic mother, then it would lead them back to him in a roundabout way. It was like breadcrumbs. Like if I make this sketch look like his mother,
they'll figure out who she is.
Yes.
And then lead them to James without me saying it was James. That makes no sense. Dumbest,
stupid.
So stupid. Bitch, you had DNA.
Yeah.
That could have led them back. It did lead them back to James, but you would never even think about that part.
Yeah.
Why? I don't understand why. And then we find out that
his mom's not Hispanic. She's Irish. And I loved, so at the very end of the latest documentary, the producer hits her with that information. She's like, so you had said that, you made the sketch look like a Hispanic woman, specifically James Reyes' mother, so it would somehow lead back to him as your abductor. Only his mother's not Hispanic. She's Irish.
And she's only met her twice.
And Sherri, because she was not expecting it, you could tell. And she literally, her face, she's like, and she's processing, and that's when bitch ass Sherri comes out. And she's like, well, I fucking met her twice. So what do you want from me? What do you want? She
mad at us for,
how dare you catch me in this lie? How dare
I wasn't prepared for that.
Yeah, this is not going how I thought it was going to go.
Yeah.
God, and she even says in that moment, she's like, do you think this documentary is going to do more harm than good for me or something like that?
It's at the very end. And I think it just goes, like, fades to black.
It's like, fades to black. I'm like, that's a great
I think
ending.
we know. Yeah.
Although you're doing more harm to you than good. Like, just shut your mouth and tell the truth.
I know. And the documentary starts with her saying, like, why, they're basically like, why are you doing this? Because now it's the time for me to tell my truth. To be like, she's no longer being silenced. Mm-hmm. She doesn't want to be like silent anymore about where she actually was for those 22 days, who actually abducted her, even though she's like, and she said, because everybody, the narrative that the media wants to portray, which she actually was found in court to be like, to lie, that she lied to federal agents.
To federal agents. It is everything. A crime.
Yes. But she wants to show that, because the media has portrayed her as this, liar, a master manipulator.
Yeah, and I love
she's not that.
She's not that. It's everybody else's fault. Mm-hmm. We've all got it wrong.
That's right.
Like we are all, everything that we thought was the truth is not the truth. We're all too stupid to figure it out, apparently. But she's going to come with the truth bombs. That's right. And she's going to tell us, her truth, which I always think is funny when somebody says, let me tell my truth. No, it's the truth.
Yeah.
It's either the truth or it's not.
Right.
Like, it's not your truth, but I don't know, I always pick up on that. Like, words matter. But also, not only is Sherri Papini somebody who is just very clearly, it's like, what are the odds that everybody else is so bad and diabolical?
Right.
Your husband's an abuser. Your husband's controlling. He put a tracker on you and he was so mean to you and he stole the kids away from you for no good reason other than he just wants control and he's so evil. Your ex-boyfriend, James Reyes, became obsessed with you, so obsessed with you that he abducted you, that he abused you, that he tortured you, that he branded you. Oh, but then he was like, you know what? I think I will let you go home to your family on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
As if
let me give you a ride.
Yeah, let me give you a ride as well. And
are those shackles comfortable? I just want to make sure you're
let me loosen up that chain one notch. You okay? Yeah. And also, if James Reyes was her abductor and she had she's just truly this victim, and he does decide on Thanksgiving Day, like as if he has nowhere to be with his family on Thanksgiving Day, to drive you home and let you go, why would he also allow his voice to be heard on a 911 call? Why would he not just push your ass out and get out of Dodge?
Right.
Why is he sticking around to be on the 911 call when his voice can be like, you know what I mean? It's like, if I abduct you, I don't want my voice to be heard.
No.
I'm not going to say shit. I'm going to dump your ass on the side of the road.
Right.
And hightail, and I'm going to go get my turkey dinner with my family after I let you go. It's just crazy to me that she wants us to believe that all these people, not only are they bad people, but to have abducted and tortured and branded somebody, that is diabolical.
Oh, yeah.
But she wants us to believe that, like, he did do all those things, but then he was like, I got to change a heart after I've beaten you up and starved you and branded you. Let me drop you off. My voice is going to be heard in the background too, so they might catch me that way. Big deal. No big deal. But and then also, you thought that you needed to protect your abductor.
Right.
So...
But first she was like protecting the nice one. Remember, she kept saying like when they find the DNA.
Yes.
Which I love how the female, I wish I remembered her name. She was saying like DNA basically is that bitch. Like you can't, that's one thing she didn't count on was the DNA, and she didn't count on the FBI being involved because her husband got the FBI involved.
That's right.
But like when they're telling her, when Keith is in the room with her and then they're like, we're giving you one last chance to tell us the truth. And, and she's like, what, and then she's like, that's so, James that doesn't make sense.
How could it be James?
Yeah, she's sticking up for this. The reason why she doesn't want to, right when she starts to kind of like implode, because I think she knows what's coming now, is that she keeps saying that she's trying to protect the one that let her go, that saved her, which was the nice, I'm guessing the smaller Hispanic woman that never existed. Yeah. And then we find out that they say, well, that we did track the DNA back to James. And she's like, how? What?
It can't be James.
Yeah, it can't be. Right.
It doesn't make sense that it's James.
Right.
Her story is so all over the place, and she has pivoted because she's had time to think about it. And again, because she refuses to ever admit that she was part of this hoax, or she was the hoax, she created the hoax. She is going to sit wherever with Keith's sister, which we're going to talk about that too, and make up this elaborate lie. And of course, It's going to be that everybody else is the bad guy. Mm-hmm. I admit, I was talking to another man during my marriage. So sorry. So sorry. It wasn't sexual. We were not, we found out pretty early. That was another thing I thought was a lie. We determined pretty early on that we weren't compatible sexually. We didn't have the same proclivities. She said, so you guys talked about like, I like it from the back. Well, I like it from the front. I guess we can't be together. But let's just like keep texting, even though you want to hit it from the back and I like to hit it from the front. Like, let's keep talking. Which she's like wants us to believe this, and then she wants us to believe that she kept talking to him, and that she and then what did she say? What was the other thing that she? Oh, and I just wanted to. Yes, I lied to the FBI. Mm-hmm. I get Oh, she's willing to admit like the little things. I know, but she's like, I just did it to protect
out of fear.
I was scared,
truly out of fear,
and it's like. Here you are in
safety's
arms.
Out of fear, and she didn't want to be something to do with like her kids. Then she started to really bring in her kids. She didn't want her kids taken away.
How are your kids going to be taken away?
They're already away. Like
yes.
they're all,
Like that's why her lies don't make sense. I know. It's like you were safe. Your abductor was nowhere near where you were with your husband. Law enforcement, in a hospital, you had your kids. All you had to do was, and I get it if you are a real victim of something horrendous. I understand that maybe the truth doesn't always come all the way out, but this is not that.
No.
This is not that. This is basically like, I get it if she held back and was like, I'm not ready to dive into the details of what happened to me because it's so triggering and so traumatizing. I can't do it, which I understand. I think that is a somewhat typical trauma response.
Yes.
But to throw investigators off and say, lie for your abductor and say, no, it was two Hispanic women. It wasn't actually him. That doesn't make sense to me.
No.
And I think the reason it doesn't make sense is like, what is the utility of that lie? Well, I think the utility of that lie is just to make sure that she is not caught.
Right.
Like there's no, and also if, there's so much to say.
Doesn't it feel like your head's going to explode?
I'm literally getting a headache. Sherri Papini is giving me a headache.
I know.
Because
you're trying to rationalize her behavior.
Irrational behavior.
Yes, it's so, because what do you think, sorry, I feel like I cut you off, but I want to get this. Yeah. I was trying to think like, what, you said like the utility of, like what is the reason? Okay, so why do we think she did this? She concocted this, I'm going to be abducted, I'm going to have James take me. Or did she really just feel like she was going to go run away from her family and go have like a relationship with James until she was done, or figure out what she wanted to do with her life with James? And then she decided to come back. Okay, I'm going to make it look like an abduction. No, yeah, but she already knew she was going to make it look like an abduction with the AirPod. This is what I'm saying. Like, I'm trying to figure out why you are a
rational person trying to rationalize irrational behavior, and it cannot be done.
But it's just attention seeking. Like what? That's it. That's the whole.
I think so.
What we have underlying here is it was a big event, attention seeking. Yeah.
Yes.
Having her husband like looking for her, having everybody. Because they said she would be watching the news coverage, like
and
from
I think
the
that she
bedroom
got off
of
on
James's.
that.
Yeah.
Yes. I think that she got off on that. And I don't think it was necessarily about James. James, I think, was a pawn. I think that she knew that she could use her power over James and manipulate him and get him to do things for her that she needed to be done. I don't think she had any interest in James.
Okay, but this is the one thing I do have a problem with. James still did those things and admitted to it. So that's not okay with me either. I don't care.
If he was going to face charges for it.
Yeah, I know. That's the part. That is the one kind of little, not the devil's advocate aspect of it, but there's one little part to me is like, why did he, like, whether he held the hockey stick and she ran into it, or she said, brand me on this side. And so he heats it up. And that's why I looked at the branding is like what they keep bringing up over and over and over again. And she had a fucking Pinterest board.
I know. Not the Pinterest board.
I know. It wasn't the Google search that was deleted. It was like, she had like, you can go share it with your friends. Yeah. Like heating branding tools or wood burning tools.
I have a style Pinterest board and an interior design Pinterest board that I want my house to look like. But I I don't have a diabolical Pinterest board that's like these
know.
are all the tools that I'm going to carry out to make it look like I was abducted.
But she has like a cutesy little Pinterest board with like
she's like, look at this cute little branding iron. Look at this cute little rope. Look at this cute little hockey stick or whatever. Like whatever it is.
I know.
Like it's wild. But you are right. So James Reyes, I wish we could hear more from him. We heard a little bit in both docs, but not nearly enough. And I do think that two things can be true. I don't understand the psychology of somebody who can help harm another person because that's what that other person wants to happen to go along with their story. That's where I might check out. Like if I was, if I was malleable enough for you to come to me and be like, Jami, help me get away with this hoax. Like I'll be like, okay, let me pick you up, whatever. But the moment that you're like, brand me, beat me, starve me, like
break my nose,
you gotta do all the things. Like I'm just not
board up my windows so I can't see the light of day. Like that's the part where I'm just like, was she throwing herself against the furniture and bruising herself too?
I think a lot of it was her on her own. It's not that hard to lay in this dark room and hit yourself on the leg, hit yourself in the face, do all the things. He admitted that he did some of it, but I wonder if like the worst of it
was her.
Yeah. And I guess maybe we'll never know.
That's the part that it's like, it's not reconciled for me. So that is the only kind of like, otherwise I'm like, yes. Did she lie? Yes. Is she a liar? Yeah. All these things I do. I'm on that side of things.
Yes.
But that's the one part of like, I need to know more about James's cooperation in doing those things to somebody.
And just
who
because
is he to do that?
I would want to know that too. And just because he did participate doesn't absolve Sherri Papini and doesn't throw at least me off of her scent to go, oh, it has to be either or. No. All the evidence that we have learned is screaming at me that Sherri Papini master manipulated everybody and orchestrated this, and she got James to participate. And he has some onus, I think, for like, he needs to explain himself, which I'm sure he did, but I thought it was interesting that he didn't face any charges, but I guess if they're going to say it's only, like they said, it's only an assault if you choose to do it, but she was directing you to do it. But how do they know for sure that she directed all of it? I mean, well,
the two things. So I think because they both took lie detector tests. He took one like in the initial investigation by the FBI.
Yes.
She took one on behalf of the documentary.
Right.
For her to like, and watching her take that was like, she was using all the tools in her tool belt. No. Me to be dead on the inside.
Yes.
We have all my mental health superpowers come together and like get the right answer out.
Believe my lie. Believe my lie.
They bring up the branding, I think, for both. And he passed his lie detector test saying that she asked him to brand her.
Yeah.
She passed her lie detector test saying that she didn't ask her, like he did it to her.
Yes.
So that's the one part they said, like, you guys both, so that's what, again, this is where you're just like, my wires were like crossing. I just was like, I don't know what to think. I'm still, there's still a lot to be said about this or about her, involvement in this and like her concocting this whole thing. But I do think James isn't completely like an innocent bystander.
I agree with you. And here's what I will say in all this complex, convoluted, like, what do I believe? I've got a headache just thinking about it. I've been on, as you know, I've sat on the jury of a first-degree murder trial. And
you were the foreman. Is it called
the jury foreman? Yeah. And we could talk about that another day. Yeah. Of course. Oh God, that tracks for you.
Oh yes. Yeah.
Yes. But as a juror, one of your basic instructions is that when the witnesses get on the stand for the defense or the prosecution, you just have to use your own judgment. Are they hesitating to answer? Does that mean to you that they're lying? Are they, sweating a lot? Are they squirming a lot in their chair? Is what they're saying making sense to you? Does it not make sense? Based on what you've learned in this trial, do you think this person, what the words that are coming out of their mouth, do you think you basically have to determine as a juror, do I think this person is credible? Do I not? Is it somewhere in the middle? Am I going to completely discredit everything they're saying because I think by their demeanor or how they're answering the questions, they're a liar? Or is it on the opposite end of that? And so that is what I applied to this case. I studied Sherri Papini. I've watched her in 2 documentaries. You know what I mean? I mostly in the second one is where she appears. But just if I were to take all this other information out, just watching Sherri Papini and how she answers questions and the way she speaks about this event and the way that she crumbles into tears the moment that she's about to get caught in a lie or something becomes a little uncomfy for her to confront, she starts to fake cry or even cry altogether. Sometimes you're able to muster tears, you know, you're a good actor. Or she starts to get angry and starts dropping like F-bombs.
Right.
Like it's like these 2 different things. I have determined that she is a fucking liar.
Yeah.
So I'm making myself a juror, pretending that Sherri Papini's on trial and she is on the witness stand in her own defense. I don't believe her. I have determined that is a lie. Like Maury Povich, like that is a lie. So for me, it's as simple as that. But then when I add in all this other information that doesn't make sense, the 911 call with James's voice in the background and specifically what he says, the fact that all the people they brought to the table in this documentary to speak on behalf of Sherri, they've all been tainted by Sherri Papini.
I know.
So they're not corroborating what she said.
No.
The woman who did prison time with her, the Keith's sister, so Sherri's ex-sister-in-law, her parents, they are all regurgitating
and
what
her psychologist
and
too.
her psychologist. They're all regurgitating what Sherri has told them. Their perspective is from Sherri's mouth. So I discredit all of it.
Right.
That is not corroboration.
No.
That is called like bias.
Yes.
You know, so it's like I need somebody else to step in. Like,
they had like her friends from like her childhood where she moved in with them for a certain time.
In the first documentary.
Yeah. They even said that there were times where she had like
lied.
Yeah, she lied, like major
lies.
And you know, Keith, there's a lot of people where she would go missing for some time and then have some story about why she was missing. Like,
yes,
there was a lot of like this behavior that I think some people weren't. I mean, this was on the scale that it got to, like how big it was, and it was like, you know, international news. I think that was shocking to them, but the fact that she might have pulled a stunt like this, it wasn't
shocking. Wasn't that shocking after they really digested it. They're like, you know what? And here, so to that point, if we're pitting Keith Papini against Sherri Papini, Keith's perception or what he's saying about Sherri being manipulative, a liar, all these things, there's some corroboration for it from outside sources who are not related to either one. In fact, these are Sherri's friends. Right. So if anything, you think that they'd be ride or die for her, but they're like, yeah, no, she was known. She told these big lies. So Keith is they are offering some corroboration as to what Keith is saying about Sherri. Sherri has no corroboration. Everybody who is speaking on her behalf are people who have been tainted by Sherri Papini. Like they're just regurgitating kind of like what she's told them from her perspective.
And I don't think they have a good judge of character. And another one I just remembered is her lawyer, her family lawyer.
Yeah.
Who is I mean, my God, she's
projecting much.
No, like exactly.
Her own situation on Sherri. And it's like, just because that horrible thing happened to you, which I believe you.
She's telling the truth.
Doesn't mean she's telling the truth. Right. It's just because that happened to you, you're like, oh yeah, then this happened to Sherri.
Right.
That is not corroboration.
This happens to women. I can say, like, this is what happens. Like, when you are, you know, you get abducted, it happens.
That's right.
It happened to me in Cabo. Hold on, let me take a hit of my vape. Okay.
Yeah, hold on.
That lawyer was just a whole,
like, and that's, a lot.
Yeah, and that's kind of like where, you know, Sherri is now like pivoting towards just trying to get some custody over her children. Right. That's like her fight now, basically.
That's it.
Yeah.
In addition to did you catch Sherri? So Sherri Papini wants us to believe, she said it out of her own mouth, that she was abducted and she did not plan that abduction, right? Like this was just a surprise. Oh my God, I'm being abducted. I don't even remember the car, which I also find suspect. You're going to remember the car. But she's saying, I had nothing to do with this abduction. I had no idea it was coming. Her own parents said they think it's an abduction.
I know.
I'm sorry. They think it was not
an abduction.
An abduction.
Right.
So it's funny, like her parents have one foot in to Sherri's bullshit, but the other foot is out.
Yeah.
So they're like, this is our daughter. She would never brand herself. Well, first of all, she didn't brand herself. She had James do it, in my opinion.
Well, he said he did it with his left hand.
Yeah, he did it. Why would he
he's like, I'm a left-handed. Yeah, and he said because she told me to, and he's like, I think I did with my left hand. Yeah, on her right. That's what he said. Like he
right. And I want to go back to that branding because that also tells us something. But her own parents are like, yeah, no, we don't think she was abducted. No. So they're already like, that doesn't make sense. So, and it doesn't mean that they are the truth keepers. Like they know, they're the end all be all, but it just tells you a lot that her own parents are like, yeah, no, we don't think she was abducted.
And she found, they found text messages between her and James that he was going to come up.
Yes.
And that she wasn't ready. She didn't want it. She said she didn't want to she was leading him on to thinking that there was going to be something because she wanted to maintain that connection with him.
Right. Even though their sexual proclivities
are
different.
Right. So she knew they were texting like he was local, but she was going to go for a run. She wasn't ready to meet up with him. She wasn't ready to do anything. Mm-hmm. And then that's when he abducted her, was on this run. It's like, part of her story.
Yes. Going back to the branding.
Yes.
And that, again, is just so unbelievable because also the branding, like I said, it's just like straight out of a Hollywood movie. But it also it's not like NXIVM, where that NXIVM cult, there was a reason for the branding. The branding meant something. Like it meant something. And all the girls could testify or say, like, we knew it because Keith Rainier, or whatever his name was, the cult leader, this is what he was pushing on us. Like, this is what this branding was all about.
Right.
Sherri Papini's branding, nobody has an explanation as to what it even means. It means nothing.
It said it's Exodus. Even the FBI looked into they looked into the Bible. What is going on during Exodus? What is, and it's like, it has nothing to do with anything.
No.
I do think this is where, you brought up Smollett and just kind of thinking of maybe things they saw in movies or, when you're trafficked and it's something they tell you to look out for in ERs and things like that. If you receive somebody, they are often pimps will often tattoo their girls to show ownership.
Sure.
This is and it'll be a certain, so you're supposed to look out for these things. And so there is something about that, when someone is being trafficked.
Sure.
Or, that they are branded with something. Usually it's tattooed, but actually an actual branding, that's not so normal. But I feel for her, going along with her Pinterest page.
Yes.
All these things, it's equal to her. This is, I'm going to do this.
Yes.
This will work. I'm going to get branded.
I think that's where she tripped herself up.
Right.
That's where you lost me. If the branding wasn't there and maybe a couple other, but the branding is where you've lost me because there's no explanation for it. If somebody's going to take the step to show ownership over you and brand you, you're going to probably know why you're being branded. This is what this cult or this diabolical person is all about. But you can't even explain. It's just a random branding.
Yeah.
And to me, it just makes more sense that she was go the extra step.
Let's do
really,
Exodus. That sounds real dramatic.
Yeah. And it just everything about it, none of it so all the details, they don't lead anywhere. They don't lead anywhere, and that's by design because it's fucking made up.
Yeah.
It's just
not
made
going
up.
To
it's not going to lead up to anything.
Right.
Going back to the first documentary, there's two things I want to bring up that tell me all I need to know about this woman. This pisses me off. So if you're like me, and you believe that this she made everything up and she is diabolical herself and she's got a lot of myriad of psychological things going on or whatever. It is so diabolical that she actually had her husband drive her to an actual victim from the area where she's from.
Oh,
remember Tara Smith?
Yes.
Her case is still unsolved today.
Which is so sad. And that was something I think the husband brought up, how that is so dark and disgusting.
And manipulative. And the attention seeking is next level. That basically, so after she was found, Sherri Papini was found, she knew of this other young girl, Tara Smith, who went missing, still missing to this day. In the same area. She had Keith drive her to Tara Smith's family's house so that she could speak to them, one victim to another. I've been through the same thing and there's hope. I've been found. Maybe I'm making things up.
Right, I know, but still
that she did not have to do.
That's
she
diabolical.
Did it. That is a choice and that is diabolical. Exactly. So that was disgusting. You are, and also, there was something that
But that's how pathological she is too.
Oh, and attention. That garnered her even more attention because that is a headline grabbing case, Tara Smith. So now you're joining the two viral cases. But to tack
yourself onto that.
That's it.
And ride the coattails of also that
these
attention.
Actual victims.
I mean, it's
disgusting.
That's punishable.
And also Sherri Papini, because I do believe that she is a master manipulator, liar, all these things. Maybe she's a sociopath.
She is.
I don't know.
She has to be.
She has to be something. Like, I'm sorry, there's some diagnosis there.
Mm-hmm.
There was something she said to Keith, or Keith reported this in the first documentary, that after she was found and she was brought back home, she made sure to tell her husband, "You didn't find me. You didn't find me." And basically, like, you bitch.
Yeah.
Like, you're literally.
You failed.
You failed me. Mm-hmm. You're not my hero that I wanted you to be.
Mm-hmm.
You did not come and find me. And
it was like a cat and mouse game.
Yes.
He didn't catch it. You know, she went away and did all this stuff, but she made sure, that he knew he failed.
You didn't catch me.
You didn't get
and
me.
It's just disgusting. So that is really, but like going back to my earlier thought, you know, I just look at this from the lens of being a juror,
mm-hmm.
as if this was like an actual like trial. And I don't believe a word she's saying.
No.
And I'm not saying because I don't want to believe her. I don't fucking believe her because of her demeanor.
Right.
Because of the words coming out of her mouth. Because of the emotions or lack of them, whatever. Because of when her emotions come in
mm-hmm.
is suspect to me.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there are reasons that I'm looking at her and going,
no,
I don't believe you.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that that's really the biggest thing that we need to do in this is like, do you get all the minutia
mm-hmm.
out of your brain? Because it
mm-hmm.
will literally like drive you crazy.
Yeah, disorient.
Talk in circles about it.
Yeah.
You're like, but what about this? No, there's no what
There's
about.
no way. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like we're trying, but it's like, I think we're trying to constantly prove what she's saying wrong. And you can see other people doing that when they're like,
yes.
you said this. That's what I think, just to like, I have to like to go easy on myself, or kind of like, you know, tame it, or I don't know, bring myself back down to some kind of baseline. I have to say, she, like you said, she's an irrational, we're trying to rationalize irrational behavior. Mm-hmm. We're not going to do it.
No.
We're not going to, I don't think anybody will say something that she's like, you know what? Okay, you guys, the gig is up.
Yeah.
All right, I'm done. Like, I'm done with this.
Yeah, let me just tell the truth.
Maybe there is, I don't know, but it's like this, the HBO Max documentary, like how, you know, her in her own words saying, you know, what her take is on everything. And we're seeing her, you know, go through certain details and they still don't add up. But the other part for me in this, the HBO Max documentary, is her willing to act in her own scenes. Yeah. So when they recreate, usually it's like an actress or something where it has her running down the trail. Yes. But then they show parts where she's breaking down because it's quote unquote triggering for her and having like this trauma response to her reenactments, basically. Yeah. But she wants to reenact her own. I mean,
she does.
She wants to be the star. Again, she's like,
show.
And now she's got this, you know.
Yes.
And everybody, like when I was looking at people's, you know, thoughts on the documentary and like what comments were saying, like on certain TikTok threads, everybody was just like, we need to stop giving her this platform.
Please.
This is,
get her off my screen.
Yes. It's just going to keep going.
Sleeping so good at night to never hear from Sherri Pinocchio Papini again. Right. Like, literally get her off my screen. Like, I do not want to see her ever again. I had a thought about James Reyes, and it's like, obviously if there was like a part 3 or another documentary, it would be from James's standpoint. And maybe him and Keith, like comparing stories, like who knows, but we've already heard from Keith. But like, to hear from James Reyes, she is making wild accusations against him. And if they are not true, then that's defamation. But he is not a sympathetic victim, if you will. Because if he comes forward and does his own documentary from his words and sues her for defamation, well, then all of a sudden now he's confronted with the shit that he did. And he did do some things that people would side eye and be like, excuse me. So I think that he just wants to go into hiding. And he says a little bit like, no, that's not true. Yes, I know that she's making these accusations, whatever. I just want to take care of my grandfather.
Right. Or she's going to write a book. She's writing a book.
And he's like, yep, I'm aware. I need to call my lawyer, like whatever. But I think that it would be more complicated for him to come forward and bring a lawsuit of defamation, because then it opens up him for a deposition by her lawyers and the public. You know, it's like, if he's done these things, he's helped her with this hoax, and he probably just wants to put it in the past. And you know what I mean? It's not like he doesn't have it. His hands are a little dirty in all of this, to say the least. And so for him to put himself out there and tell his side of the story, then that's dredging up all that other stuff that's kind of icky.
That's right.
So I think there's that. But this, I think that Sherri Papini will always ride hard for Sherri Papini. She will always be, it is in her nature. And I also think it's like so gross that she traded one support blanket, which was her husband, for her husband's estranged sister. And it makes sense. Like the estranged sister said something like, she goes, well, I didn't really have a relationship even before all this blew up with my brother. So when Sherri Papini, the opportunity to get close to her, I took it, or whatever her words were, because I never had like a sibling bond like that, especially not like a sister. And I welcomed that. So I think that that tells us a lot as to why Keith Papini's sister is so willing to latch herself on to Sherri Papini. Yeah. She already didn't have a relationship with her brother. And Sherri Papini's like, yeah, but come on.
I know. Anybody, she
I'll
wants
trade out Keith for the sister.
Yeah. And her psychologist, the same thing. Like he really sees her as the victim, and
these are all her
diagnoses her with something. Said, I only think it's on the DCM, like what he diagnosed her with.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, okay, I need to look into his credentials, because I'm just like, okay, dude, like it's just so interesting. And sometimes you wonder what the motivation is for them to put themselves out there. And sometimes it's as simple as like, oh, I want to be in a documentary. You know, I don't know. I'm not questioning. I don't know anything about her therapist or whatever. But certainly Sherri Papini, I think that she has hoodwinked people. And I think that she's good at that. But if you put the microscope, like if you zoom in enough, you will see that she truly just is like a master manipulator and a liar. And something in her psychology will never allow her to break away from that. She always will be the victim.
And that's why I feel like that's maybe the narcissism in that, where they know, like they really can never find themselves at fault. Like even like her children are now, you know, basically like I think the ultimate victims of all of this.
Yeah.
Her husband's a victim. Anybody who's kind of like left in the wake of, you know, what she's done in the name of attention. So I don't know what else I was going to say.
Well, I just had like this flash. I also do think, and I think they addressed this in the first documentary, I do think that Sherri Papini took a little bit of Tara Smith's story, the girl who actually did go missing and is still missing today. A little bit of the Gone Girl story, the movie or the book or whatever it was, and use some of those details to create her own, you know, abduction story or whatever, you know, happened or whatever she says happened. And I do, not sure if I said this earlier, but, you know, I've covered enough scam artist cases to know that there is one common thread. There are many common threads, but there is one for sure that stands out. Any big liar, like a scam artist, is going to sprinkle a little bit of truth in with the big lie, because it helps to legitimize it. And it helps to make people think, well, she told the truth about that. This is true. But it's like, no, but let's look at the part that's not true.
Right. It helps you lie better.
It helps you lie better and it also helps you keep track of your lies. Right. If you anchor the big lie to a little bit of a truth, it'll give you a starting point to when you're questioned 2 years later, 5 years later, 10 years later. You can always start with that little truth and then go into the lie. And it'll help you sort of like have an anchor, for lack of a better term, to like help you keep telling that lie. And for the most part, it is similar to what you said before. Right. But I do think with any liar, there will be variances and you'll be able to catch them up, but you just have to you have to pay attention. You got to take your ginkgo biloba, whatever, big ginkgo. You got to take your ashwagandha, whatever, your nootropics, your lion's mane, your coffee. Like you got to like be on your shit to really wade through the bullshit that is people like Sherri Papini. So they're good at it.
So do you think that's the part where the female FBI agent who's now retired, who's in the HBO Max documentary, says like now she can talk a little bit more about this. She basically, you know, created a hostage environment at James's place.
Yes.
With everything, and was able to describe like to a T what she was chained to, what that screw looked like, what the bedroom looked like, what the coffee table that she was laying over when she got branded, everything. And the FBI agent said the one thing she didn't count on, which I said before, was that we were going to find this DNA evidence that was going to lead us back. Because she's like, I can't just go find a coffee table.
That's right.
I just can't go find this closet with a screw in it that she was attached to.
Yeah, it was very specific.
Right. And so when they said they finally got to James's house, they were just like, oh, It was
to a T.
everything she described. So
Yes.
did she literally create this hostage environment in order to perpetuate the lie?
Yeah.
I think
that was her sprinkling a little bit of truth into the lie.
Right.
Yes, it's true that I was in this room. And let me describe it. But the reason she was in that room is the lie.
Right.
Like, it's like.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So that's her little bit of truth with the big lie.
Yeah.
And
but that's extreme. It is extreme.
She needs to be studied. And I know that they do. But
everybody's so annoyed with her.
I'm so fucking annoyed with her too. Get off my screen. She is so like unlikable.
Oh yeah.
She is so entirely unlikable. And the way that she's just like, okay, I only met her fucking twice. Like, like have you not lied? Have you not lied?
Right.
Like, she's so manipulative. And that's just her being the liar, taking the heat off herself and putting it on you. Because again, is she correct in saying, I'm sorry, but everybody lies? Yes.
Yes.
That is true. But everybody does not lie as big as you lied. Those are two totally different things. Like whatever, we're diving deep, but whatever. Like, I'm an atheist. But I've always told my young daughter that the dogs are going to heaven.
Right.
Okay. I don't.
Right. I see. Yes.
But it's a comforting lie to sort of like emotionally protect my daughter when she gets older.
Through her developmental stages.
Yeah. That's it. I told her Santa Claus is real. Yeah. I don't think he's real. Okay, he's not real. Okay.
I can't wait till honestly, I'm like, can we stop with the Santa already? Because I am like,
it is. Oh God, going along with the Santa Claus lie is like literally so exhausting.
No, I even told him like the Tooth Fairy, no. But he's running.
We're done.
But for some reason, they're hanging on to Santa.
Oh, they're hanging on to Santa. Listen, and you got to hang on to it as long. I even told Stevie when she came to me one day and was like, yeah, so Mom, like, I don't really believe in Santa Claus. And I said, well, why? Excuse me. And so, of course, I was like, well, why? Let's talk through this. And she's like, it doesn't make any sense. And I'm like, well, why doesn't it make sense? And then she goes through, she's like, how's he going to go through the fireplace? And
what if you don't have a fireplace?
Yeah. She's just like, none. She's like, Mom, it doesn't make sense. I'm like, okay. So then when I allowed her, like, I was like, okay, that's what you don't believe it. And okay, that we're going with that. But I was like, please don't go to school and tell kids this.
Right.
Like, let them
discover on their own or with their family. Yeah.
But again, like I
know.
Yes, everybody lies.
Yeah.
My license plate, it's a damn lie.
Yeah.
It's a lie.
Yeah.
But it's not because I'm diabolical.
Right.
It's just a little vain. Just a little vain, little vanity,
yeah,
little wishful thinking.
Yeah.
That's what it is. I mean, those are my goals. I'm wishing it to happen.
Yeah, it's your vision board.
It's my vision board. Yeah. That number is my vision board. Damn it.
Yeah, it's just a legal document.
That's right.
All,
who cares? So I guess I've lied to the federal government if you want to look at that.
Lock her up.
That's right. But yeah, I mean, this whole thing is so complex, but I thought it was really interesting. And people like Sherri Papini are the reason that I am so fascinated with true crime is because I'm into a lot of different aspects. How did they solve it? What tools did they use or whatever to get to the eventual perpetrator, but I am interested in the psychology. And I want to, not to get dark, but it's like someday I would love for Sherri Papini's brain to be studied. And I know that they've done this. They've run tests on serial killers like John Wayne Gacy and all the things. And the football players who have that CTE or whatever it's called from so many blows to the head. You can see the damage.
Or the difference in the brain tissue, right?
That's
there's differences.
And with like certain serial killers and things like that, you can literally see, like, for example, something in their frontal lobe is different than yours and my frontal lobe. Like, the reason I lied on my driver's license ain't because my frontal lobe is missing or it's small or whatever the difference is.
Early signs of dementia or something. Yeah.
Oh my God. But I think that I think that experts would probably see something different about Sherri Papini's physical brain.
Right.
I really do. Like, I just want to know, like, what is different about hers?
Yeah.
But anyway, overall thoughts, like,
I mean, case closed. I mean, it's like
we solved it. Bitch lied. A bitch lied.
That's it. I mean, that's literally like,
closed.
I mean, there's nothing else to say about it. It's just, I think you're right. Like, getting into like the psychology of why. And I think that's why people are fascinated with true crime. And these, you think, how could that person do that? Because you somebody with maybe a normal moral compass would not do something like that, would not, go out of your way to murder 4 college students in their home at night. There's these things that we really are like, how?
You wouldn't be able to sleep at night. And so that also tells us something about Sherri Papini. She's sleeping at night knowing that if this is all a lie, like we believe it is, she is she's okay with wrecking other people's lives to save her own.
Even I think either the producers or something at the end were saying, or no, I saw this it was like on a TikTok. Someone was like, if you notice her teeth, she has veneers at the end of the documentary.
Oh.
Like her teeth are changed. Like she cares about her appearance. She's caring about the way that she looks because she cares about that attention. And how she garnered that attention before was to play
partially
this like
through her looks.
Yeah, exactly. And that she was like this innocent, sad victim that we want to feel sorry for. And she has some people that still to this day feel sorry for her.
They do.
And, but yeah, that there's something there. The fact that she can continue to, I don't know, this would level any of us,
for sure.
Going to jail for lying to the federal government, have your kids taken away from you. This is the other thing.
She's out here getting chiclets in her mouth.
If I was having I mean, Jesus. But like, if I were to, I think like, if it was me, okay, let's say for some reason I have like something happens where I crack, I have a mental health crisis, okay?
Right.
And I need to escape my family and I have an ex come pick me up. And if I went through all that and I come back, I'd be like, you guys, like, I'm so like, I don't know what was wrong with me. I had, I was trying to get attention. Yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry you guys all went out.
You would crumble in front of them.
Oh my God. I would feel so guilty about the resources spent on me, the time and effort, the tears cried over me thinking I was dead. Like it's not leveling her at all. It's not even knocking her down a notch. Like you said, it's not she's doubling down.
But that tells you the difference between her and you and like the average everyday human being, because you're right. Let's just go with that thought. Like a person who's a little more, I don't know what the right word is, but more psychologically
sound,
typical or sound. Yes. Would be like, I am so sorry. I did this. I feel so horrible. I don't know what was going on. I need help. Like I should have never done that. It was, I don't know what's going on with me and I'm so sorry. And you feel
something was happening with me. I need help.
But somebody who is psychologically not sound, like Sherri Papini, supposedly, allegedly, she's going to double down.
Yeah.
And
keep fighting for this
never going to crumble in front of you. In fact, she's going to be like, fuck off.
Yeah.
I didn't do this.
Right.
Nope.
I'm innocent.
What do you want? And
I'm a victim again of something.
Yes. And there were times in the documentary that she was like, I don't know what you want. What can I give you? And she just gets all like angry. And that's another thing. And I understand that, trauma response, it's like, it's complicated and you can be more than one thing, right?
That's right.
But it was interesting that, and to me, this is part of her manipulation and her lies, is that in some cases, in some instances, she wants us to see her as a fragile, triggered, emotionally weak, traumatized victim. But then other times she wants to be like, fuck you. Fuck you. Well, I don't know what you want from me. I didn't, blah, 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 blah. She wants to be that tough bitch, like I'm that bitch. And kind of like going back to her writing that blog. She was very clear about her giving it right back to her.
Yeah, that's right.
Like I'm a tough bitch. So I think that it's like, I don't know if you could be both things, maybe.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was a difference in like, it was like a switch.
Right.
Fragile, weak, woe is me, I'm a victim, to I'm that bitch. I am that bitch. Fuck off.
That's right. What
so
are you going to do about it?
Like, I don't know.
I know.
That I just thought I was like, okay, that's kind of like a switch too.
Yeah.
But again, that's I think is just her manipulation.
And I guess like the only thing, like, do I ever want to hear from her again? No, but I do want to know how this like family law court case, her getting access to her kids again.
Yeah.
Like, because they're currently fighting that, right? I mean, she's currently trying to gain access to her kids or custody or some kind of percentage of custody of them.
Right.
So I would like to see, like, can this law duo, pull it off?
This mom and daughter, or dad and daughter duo. Oh my gosh. There was something too about, you just
with the lawyer.
Yes.
Because she had, she was saying, because she's like, when the lawyer was talking and giving an interview. Oh, go ahead.
So sorry. When, okay. So in this latest documentary, Sherri, obviously, you know, they're trying to tell it from her angle as much as possible. So they're presenting all these people that are supposedly like corroborating her or whatever. And they play this clip of this audio that Sherri supposedly recorded of Keith coming in after and she acted like that was going to help her.
No, I was like, you know what?
He sounds like a normal husband who's pissed off that you lied.
Yeah, she's saying that he was trying to force her to sign custody documents.
Because he's a bully. And
and it's easier to do it now. And he was actually being correct. Like otherwise, we're going to go through a long, dragged out, court case.
Yes,
it's not going to be favorable.
To me, he sounded very reasonable on there, and I'm like, she's presenting it as she's grasping at straws, like, thinking look at this big manipulator, and he was manipulating me. He's going to take the kids, and it's a threat.
I know. I was listening, I was like, what's he going to say? Like, I was like, ooh, maybe they do have. And then I was like,
no bomb ever dropped.
Never.
The hammer never dropped. I was like, okay, girl, get out of here with your evidence.
I know.
Like none of it to me helped her. Not
it's
even her own parents.
Grasping at straws or whatever.
Not even her own parents would say that she was abducted.
No, I know.
Like not so it's just wild, but I did think it was interesting. Again, I would like to hear more from James Reyes. I don't know if we'll get there because he's probably want to
he's got to be done with it. Yeah. Well, like I said, he's not completely innocent in the whole thing either.
Yeah,
so.
His hands are dirty for sure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming in again. We're going to do this again, and you and I will talk off mic about which documentary is going to be next. I know we had one in the works. We won't say just yet, but we will definitely
be back.
Meet here again in a couple weeks.
That's right.
You guys, thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you do all the things. You've got to subscribe to the YouTube channel at Jami on Air. That's Jami on Air. All my social media handles are also at Jami on Air. And Serial Streamers has been a lot of fun. So basically, it's either me by myself or more preferably my bestie comes in. And we're basically breaking down all the documentaries that are going viral. So all the documentaries that you, the audience, is out there watching, but you may or may not have like a best friend or like a partner in your life who is willing to talk about them with you because they're just not into true crime. Well, that's where Serial Streamers comes in. So you can catch the audio version of all the Serial Streamers episodes on my podcast, Murderish. So make sure you are subscribed to that. But if you're into the video version, go to my YouTube channel at Jami on Air and subscribe there. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for listening. And remember, be that bitch when it comes to your safety. Always cover your drinks, always leave your lights on at night, and always follow your gut. Stay safe.